Hey everyone, we're going to continue with 7.6. This is page 3. Got a new set of directions. Find approximate solutions over the interval 0 to 360 degrees. So these are the ones where you'll have to use your calculator. We're doing degrees, so we're going to be in degree mode. And so let's take a look and see what we can do. Now, one thing to realize is if I'm looking at this number 9, the sine of what angle is 0.624. First thing I think of is the sine is positive, right? There's a positive number. The sine is positive in quadrants 1 and 2. So I should have two answers here, one from quadrant 1 and one from quadrant 2. The problem is your calculator is only going to give you one answer. Okay, so the first step is to get that answer, and that's going to be found by sine inverse, kind of like from last section. Right, you're going to do sine inverse of 0.624 to get that first angle. So let me jump to my calculator real quick and make sure we're on the same page on that. So again, always check your mode. So this one's degrees because of the question. So we're in degree mode. That looks right. And so I'm doing sine inverse 0.624. Now, when you do this, your calculator will give you that first quadrant answer. So rounding this to the nearest tenth, that's 38.6 degrees. All right. And then I know the other answer is in quadrant 2. So think of this first quadrant answer as a reference angle. So if you have a reference angle of 38.6, quadrant 2 is going to be 180 less than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 180 and subtract what I just found. And that'll give me my quadrant 2 solution. Okay, and so there are my two answers. If it helps, you know, I maybe over here in the corner, right? If you know your angle theta, which is your reference angle, or a quadrant 1 solution, if you know you have a solution in quadrant 2, you're always going to do 180 minus that to get that quadrant 2 answer. If you know you have a solution in quadrant 3, you would do 180 plus that angle. And if you knew you had a solution in quadrant 4, it would be 360 minus that angle. All right, so you can use that, and that's in degrees. The radian version would be similar, just in radian, you know, pi and 2 pi's. That might help on these. Okay, so let's look at another one. Tangent theta equals, or plus 4 equals 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring that 4 over. So I get tangent theta equals negative 4. And then I'm going to get my answers. Well, but back up. I mean, what I would do at this stage of the problem is, okay, I would ask myself, which quadrants are the answers going to be located? Or where is tangent negative? And remember that all students take calculus. That comes into play here. That t means positive. So tangent is positive at a and t, 1 and 3. So tangent is negative in quadrants 2 and 4. So I'm going to have a quadrant 2 solution and a quadrant 4 solution. If I want to get those, I need that reference angle. Right? So the reference angle, what I would do is just do tangent inverse of 4 and just ignore that negative. Right? I'll get the solutions by using this little table. So I'm not worried about putting that negative into the calculator. Really what I want is the reference angle. So on my calculator, I'm just doing tangent inverse of positive 4, which is about 76.0 in degree. If I did to the nearest tenth of a degree, 76.0, okay? Which that's not an answer because that will be in quadrant 1, and I know my answers are in quadrants 2 and 4. So in quadrant 2, I'm going to do 180 minus 76, and in quadrant 4, I'm going to do 360 minus 76. And then those would be my solutions. Right? So that's 104. And then 360 minus 76 is 284. Now, if you wanted to double check that, try plugging into your calculator in degree mode tangent of 284. You'll see that you get just about -4. Right? Now you got a little rounding error, but like -4.01. Okay. Same with the 104. If you do tangent 104 as a check, you should get just about -4. Okay. So those are accurate, and those are my two final answers. Okay. How about sine is -0.856? So again, okay, where is sine negative? Sine is negative in quadrants 3 and 4. So I'm going to have a quadrant 3 answer and a quadrant 4 answer. Right. And my reference angle is just sine inverse 0.856. When you find that reference angle, ignore the negative. Sloppy, but oh well. Okay, so sine inverse 0.856. I'm plugging into my calculator without the negative, and I get a 58.9 degree reference angle. So in quadrant 3, I'm going to do 180 plus 58.9. And in quadrant 4, 360 minus 58.9. And those will give you your two final answers. So I'm getting 238.9 here. And then 301.1. Okay. One more, how about for cosine? Okay, cosine positive. Cosine is positive in quadrants 1 and 4, where the x value is positive, right? So I'm going to do cosine inverse 0.209. Cosine inverse 0.209 is equal to 77.9 degrees. And that's actually in quadrant 1, right? So I got one of them. And then for the quadrant 4, I've got to do 360 minus that. And I get my other answer. And that's 282.1. And all these can be checked. Just do cosine 282.1 and see if you get that 0.209 back, approximately. Okay. Okay. Does it get more complicated? Of course it does. All right. So now we've got some quadratics. We've got trinomials that actually don't factor. So if I look at number 13 and I tried to factor that, ooh, it doesn't work. So guess what you got to use on these? Quadratic formula. Right? So the quadratic formula is that thing, remember, negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, that thing. Right? But here, instead of x equals that, it's sine theta equals that. Because sine theta is the variable. Okay, so let's calculate that out. So b is -4, so I'll have a +4 there, -4. B squared, -4 squared is a +16, minus 4 times a is 3 and c is -5, all over 2 times 3. Okay, so this is going to be 16 plus, because negative times negative positive, 60 all over 6, which is this, right? Okay, and that actually represents two values, a plus and a minus. So we're going to get a value for each of those. This is where it gets a little crazy, right? And if it's not already crazy. Okay, so do a calculation for each of those. In other words, I'm going to jump to my calculator. Let me just show that, how I'm going to plug that in. Right. I'm doing in one of them 4 plus the square root 76, and either put that in parentheses or just hit enter first and then divide by 6. Right? And I get that value. And I'm going to go ahead and write that down. Now I'm going to carry that out to a few decimal places. 2.1196. Right. And then do it for the minus. Or minus square root of 76 divided by 6. Always takes me forever to type things in because I'm typing on my keyboard. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay, so that's going to be negative 0.7863. Okay. So I get those two things, right? And then let's jump back to the handout and finish the problem. So now, remember what we had, or what equals that is sine theta, right? So we have two things. We have sine theta equals 2.1196, or we have sine theta equal the other one, negative 0.7863, okay? Now, hey, look at this one. Sine equal 2 is not possible, right? This number always has to be between 1 and negative 1. So this one has no solution on this side. So we're done with that branch. So really our answers are going to come from the other one. Sine theta equals negative 0.7863. And that's a lot like the problems we just did above, right? Like number 11. I'm going to do it that way, right? So sine is negative in quadrants 3 and 4. So first, let's get that reference angle. The reference angle, I'm just going to do sine inverse of 0.7863 without the negative. And that's 51.8. Right, and then I'm going to do quadrant 3 is 180 plus that. Quadrant 4 is 360 minus that. Those are the places where sine is negative. Okay. So adding 180, I get 231.8. Subtracting from 360, 308.2. And there's my answers. Okay. Okay, so that's how those work. I know, quadratic formula. You thought you would never see that again, huh? But it comes up quite a bit here and there. Great way to solve a quadratic, even if it's in trig form. Okay, so let's do another one. Cosine theta equals negative b. So negative negative 1 plus or minus b squared is 1 squared minus 4. That's a 1 right there. A2 C11, right? All over 2a. Okay. And we have 1 plus or minus square root of 1 minus 88 all over 4. And then we have 1 minus 88 is a negative 87. Whoa. So here's a case where you get a negative underneath the radical. And we know that that's not a real number. So this one doesn't have any real solutions. I can stop right here. Right? If you get a negative under the radical, you're done. This one, there's no real solutions. We're not concerned with imaginary solutions right now. So no real solutions and I'm good. Okay. So there's a good stopping point for now. I'll continue in the next video. Hope that's helping and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.